name's Alexei, and today I'll be reading Your Influence in Space. And this is the first of the 4-book series that I've released. Basically, Your Influence in Space shows you how your body's light encompasses the entire universe. Then the liquid light state universe describes the universe as, say, a pond of overlapping electromagnetism where matter forms at nodes. And it also includes consciousness and your light state harmony, because the mind, body, spirit really is the entire connection to the universe. And from that, what we realize is that, well, we're orbiting the crystal of time. And then it goes into time atom, which basically shows you that your consciousness is eternal. But the first step is to understand space preparation. And so that comes from Your Influence in Space. This is a revised edition. I wrote the first one in 2014, just revised it to better suit time atom and things of that nature. I also took out the philosophy section. And so this is primarily the science, and the philosophy will be in a completely different book. So just to get started, basically Your Influence in Space primarily discusses the concept of space preparation. In short, your light extends to the edge of the universe in at least one or more reference frames. We begin by looking at the human senses and how they've evolved throughout time to give us our conscious experience that we all have. An important part of that is the Doppler shift, which we'll go over, and then we'll go over gravity, as well as the nature of waves. So understanding this is crucial for the other 3 books. So this is the first step right here. And just like the other books, the very first thing we do is explore our own senses. And so not only did we evolve on Earth, which revolves around the sun, but we also evolved in an expanding universe, hence our sense of time. So here we're going to look at the human senses, where they came from, just to give us an idea, a better picture of what we're actually working with here. And so you could say we evolved on Earth, right? So that's kind of a simple picture when compared to the greater picture of what actually happened here. You know, we evolved on more than just Earth. But as far as Earth, you could say that the senses we gained were smell, touch, and taste. These are all things made of physical molecules. And just keeping this simple and just doing a quick walkthrough of this. But one thing we notice is that your human touch actually has the ability to detect infrared energy, which is pretty cool because you don't actually have to be touching the source to detect the infrared energy. And so if you're really, really quiet and really calm, you can actually probably feel different colors as well. So that's just something to think about. So not only did we evolve on Earth, but we also evolved in a solar system, right? And as far as senses that have been gained from evolving in the solar system, you could say that we gained eyes, right? And those are centered around the color yellow, which is the maximum output of the sun. Like humans naturally glow in infrared based off black body spectrum, but the sun naturally glows yellow based off the black body spectrum. And that's why our eyes are tuned to the color yellow, is directly because of our sun. So not only did we evolve on Earth, we evolved around the sun. To take that one step further, not only did we evolve around the sun, but we also evolved in an expanding universe. So here you see a man evolving on Earth next to the sun in an expanding universe. And so that's a more realistic picture of the evolution of the human body within reality, right? And one thing I kind of skipped through, but I'll kind of go back now, is that each one of these senses that we evolved with basically is tuned to a certain range of frequencies that actually allow us to detect things that are beneficial for survival, right? So that doesn't mean that we actually detect everything. And a good example would be elephants and mice. Like, we literally can't hear the highest pitches of sounds that come from a mouse. And we can't hear the lowest pitches that come from an elephant. we need to have special tools in order to do that. And so you could say that, there's limitations to our senses, and that all of our senses came from evolving in the expanding universe. And just like our eyes have limitations, we can only see that tiny threshold of the visible spectrum. The same is true for time, where we can only see that tiny spectrum of the now. So you could say that the past is solid and exist, the now is solid and exist, the future will be solid and will exist. In the other books, you'll see how we go into light-state harmony, and that actually will determine where you manifest in space, but at this time, we're keeping it simple. So the next section is called Limitations of Physical Mediums. And so not only do we see that our senses have a certain range of frequency where they can actually collect information, but the mediums that we are tuned to also have a certain range in where they can allow for waves to travel. So you could say that the speed of sound in air is what it is. I forget exactly what it is, maybe 560 or 700 miles an hour. And then you could say that the speed of sound in a solid is even faster, right? So the speed of sound varies throughout materials. The speed of light varies throughout materials. And what you see, though, I don't know, so the accuracy of your senses is basically determined on the medium. And so not only do our senses have limitations, but so do the mediums that we are tuned to. So that's an important thing to understand when we are observing reality and making our equations. So just moving forward to the next section. At least we are smarter than worms. And I'll just keep this simple. So here's a picture of a man telling a worm, hey man, E equals mc squared. And the worm, it doesn't have as evolved senses as humans do, and so it's confused. It's like, what do you mean we don't E equals mc squared? I don't get it. But if you were to consider all the life forms that exist, here you have the theoretical alien basically saying E does not equal mc squared. And the man is just as confused as the worm is. So everything is really relative to your own experience. And when it comes to the human body, light is the source of information exchange. And so for humans, light appears to move really, really fast. It's instant. You can talk to someone on the other side of the planet, and you think it's happening instantly, but that just comes down to perception. Compared to a theoretical alien, that could be equivalent to talking with two plastic cups tied together with a string. So just imagine that this theoretical alien can walk through time with its body, or can walk through dimensions with its body. Humans are evolved and we're advanced for the Earth, but when compared to all of reality that's over 18 billion years old, there can be more advanced beings out there. And so we then go, so basically from that, we see that the speed of light is basically the limitation of human perception, and it's not really the limitation of reality. And so matter can travel faster than light, but it will never look like it. You could say it's the universe's greatest magic trick. And so here we talk about magicians and how they use trickery to create illusions. But we're going to keep moving forward now in our understanding of space preparation. And one of the most important parts of that is called the Doppler effect. And to keep it simple, all wave types undergo a Doppler effect. Sound waves, water waves, light waves, any wave that exists undergoes a Doppler effect. And the easiest one to visualize would be that of sound, because we can actually see that and experience it in our day-to-day life. And so what it is when an object is moving, the sound waves will change. So here you have a picture of a man, and he's standing on a train. And for the man standing on the train, the sound is basically just like, right? It's a constant hum. But if you were not on the train and it was driving past you, the sound would change as it passed you. You would have compressed waves as the vehicle is coming towards you, and you would have expanded waves as it's traveling away. And so what you get is that shift from short waves to long, and more of a right? And so the experience that the two observers have is different. They actually experience a different reality. And so the same is true for light within the universe. but it's just happening so fast that our consciousness doesn't really understand that this entire construct of time, space, stretching is all happening. And so one of the most important things to understand before we keep moving forward is X-rays, visible light, radio waves, all electromagnetic waves are basically the same exact type of wave, but it comes down to the frequency. And visible light is the one that we can perceive with our consciousness. So just keep moving forward now. And you see that the light waves get stretched or crunched, depending on which direction they're going. And so now here we're going to do a quick example to show how light stretches and crunches, right? So we have 4 different observers. One of them standing on Earth, one of them is flying at 1 time the speed of light, one of them is flying at 2 times the speed of light, and one of them is flying at infinite velocity. And so, let's see. Well, I'll get back to that in a second. Just so that we're going to do that. But the trick here, okay. So observer 0, person on Earth, after 1 second of time, person that's standing on Earth sees that the light has traveled 1 times the speed of light. Right? It's important. Hold up. The person traveling at 1 times the speed of light sees that the light has traveled 2 times the distance. But the wave, only 1 wave has still passed, and now it's stretched. Okay? What you'll see is that for every example, the wave created by the individual on Earth is being stretched more and more. Here you have an individual flying 2 times the speed of light, and you can see that their wave is stretched even more. And here you have someone flying at infinite velocity. Let's just say that can happen. You're flying at infinite velocity, the light is stretched all the way to the edge of the universe, but it's near 0. And so what you get about your personal light, your influence in space, at the snapshot of the now, when compared to all relativistic frames of motion, you get a bell shape of your energy. So you literally exist in every single point in space, in at least one relativistic frame of motion. But your energy is so stretched out near infinity that it's almost near 0. And so you have maximum strength in your own frame of motion. And so what you see from that, though, is that your light already exists at the edge of the universe, but it takes time for it to manifest there. And so what you see there is, you could say, momentum, right? That would create a momentum. But what I like to call it is space preparation. And so literally space prepares itself before matter can manifest. And that can be seen by looking at all those different relativistic frames at the same exact motion, or moment in time. And so a conclusion from this is that all particles or waves exist in all places in space and time in at least 1 or more relativistic frames of motion. And that space needs to prepare itself from long waves to short as particles move through, or rather manifest. Space preparation can be sensed and therefore measured and computed. And although current technology may not exist to capture this in motion, the concept of future imaging does exist. And what I think that's also really cool from this, and it's not in this book here, is that space preparation, when looking at it, at objects moving, and when you're considering the light state, you could see that would create momentum. So that would be the force of momentum when it comes to matter manifesting through space and trying to stop it. You would have a space preparation going on from the light state of the universe. But we'll just keep moving forward with this book right now. And so this one is called Gravity from Above. And basically it goes over gravity. Because a lot of people just start working off the equations. They don't realize that someone sat there and first thought about that the fruit fell from the tree. And they wrote down the equations of gravity. So people kind of just assume things and they work off stuff. But what I'm saying here is maybe gravity comes from above. And maybe that there could be a set of equations that describes gravity as a pushing force instead of a pulling force. Currently, the common equations are, F equals gm m1 m2 over r squared, and then you have F equals ma, and you can calculate the force of gravity for any masses, that distances are, But that doesn't explain why the universe would be expanding. And so it's clear that something is missing. And it's similar in a way to when we looked at the human being evolving on Earth. We only looked at the Earth at first, right? So people we evolved on Earth. Well, we evolved in the expanded universe. And so when you think about gravity, there's not just two bodies. There's every single star in existence. And so maybe gravity comes from all the stars in existence. And how could that be happening? Well, basically, if you get a laser and you shine a light at a piece of tinfoil, it'll jump. So, because light has momentum, it has energy. So maybe gravity comes from light and masses act as shields. It's the easiest way to put it. And so here we explain how that could work. You have all the stars in the universe acting on a single body. And what you see is that wouldn't work, that wouldn't move anywhere, right? So all the forces cancel out to equal 0. And then what you see is when you have two bodies next to each other, they would be being pushed together. Very, very simple explanation here. And so you have interstellar star pressure minus shielding, right? Because the Earth is blocking the light from below us. It's literally capturing all kinds of X-rays, all kinds of, you could say, static liquid light pressure is being blocked by the Earth right now. And we're being pushed from above at a great rate. So to say that gravity comes from Earth, I think might be looking at it backwards, I don't know. And so we go over the approach, though, to figure out how you could solve for that. And we say that the force of gravity at relatively close distances is known, and from that we have a value of P. Well, basically we just go over it, where we have a shielding force, we have the interstellar star pressure, and so gravity is going to be interstellar star pressure minus shielding. And so you could explain how the relationship to the expanding universe in a simple way, just like this. Basically, if two objects are really close to each other, they'll be pushed together because there's equal pressures acting on them. And if they're far apart, they'll be pushed apart. And so, very simple explanation for gravity. And we're just going to keep moving forward. We switched up a little bit in the liquid light state, but we're going to keep moving forward. And so now here you see walking through walls. And basically this section is about wave nature. And so you can see that you can have a wave, that's one wavelength. And you can build waves or cancel waves, right? And so this is important for the light state. So here you have a wave hits a wall. And if the wave bounces back perfectly, it'll overlap with itself, and it will cancel itself. And you will have no energy manifesting, even though there's a strong wave. And so that's true for every type of wave. Okay? You can literally cancel waves where no energy will exist. But you could, at the same time, you can also amplify a small wave to have double the power. And this is used all the time in electronics, levitation of little objects, kind of stuff like that. And so you can create nodes. And at the nodes of low pressure is where objects want to be, just based on the nature of reality, how objects want to be in low pressure zones. They don't like high pressure. And so what you see, though, is that for every size element or swimming pool, there's a different size wave that will create one standing wave within it. And so here you see two different swimming pools. And to get a common factor of a wave that can cancel, you need to, or to get a wave that will cancel, you need to find the common factor. Just keeping it as simple as possible right now. And so basically you can find a common factor within the elements and get all the elements to be within the same phase, essentially. And so understanding that, you can actually start canceling matter, right? And so here we get into manipulating gravity. And the easiest way to put it is that you can see that the overlapping of the interstellar star pressure would be creating gravity. And so you could see that by canceling the incoming interstellar pressure, you would cancel, therefore, the effect of gravity. But what we notice when we look at that a little more closely is that you would actually cancel the matter from manifesting. And so that introduces the concept of the light state with any physical spot, and that gravity itself, same with momentum, gravity and momentum can both be, in a way, illusions created by space preparation itself. And it might be hard to see at first, but you can see that when you look at all the overlapping waves, you can almost see it as like getting a magnifying lens and trying to focus a light and moving that light across the surface. And that would be how matter moves across. And so it's the focusing of matter from the entire universe. And so that's where we get into the liquid light state universe. It really does lead to the question, so is matter just nodes of overlapping electromagnetism? So does it even make sense to say that gravity exists? Could it be a resultant illusion created by space preparation? All waves overlap and their energy adds and subtracts. Matter is always in a constant form of manifestation, living in and out of solidity. So is it not just temporary waves passing through, continuing onward? Are we not peaks of the same wave? Does the photon not only become matter to another photon when the conscious observer is accelerating at light speed in the same direction? All right, so this moves on to the liquid light state universe. So let's continue on our conscious journey as the liquid light state universe examines the universe as if it's all light. Matter forms at nodes of overlapping electromagnetism. And in the liquid light state universe, we also discuss the conscious field, light state harmony, and introduce the mind-body-spirit diagram. So hopefully that makes some sense to you guys. And you can see that matter is actually just manifesting at nodes of overlapping electromagnetism, and that momentum is the result of that as well. And so that leads into the liquid light state universe, where we also include the mind forces and light state harmony, which takes us into the crystal of time, okay, which then takes us into time atom, where we see that our consciousness is eternal. So it is quite a journey of, you could say, conscious exploration of reality, but I think if you guys were to sit quiet and be still, you might come to the same conclusions. So I hope you enjoy it, and have a great day. Thanks for listening.